Hi, welcome to another episode of the Gut Academy. I'm Dr. Will DiPaolo. Today we are going to talk about something that you may have heard of alongside discussions of the microbiome, and those are short chain fatty acids. So today we're going to discuss what short chain fatty acids are, how do we get them, where are they found, and what do they actually do for us. So short chain fatty acids are a type of fatty acid with less than 6 carbon atoms, giving them a short chain. So one thing you can always count on is that scientists are not that creative. So the short chain fatty acids, SCFAs, are produced when bacteria that live in your intestine will ferment or digest dietary fiber. So basically, short chain fatty acids are one of the end products of bacterial digestion. They're a byproduct of that bacterial metabolism. And so we need to talk a little bit about fiber if we want to understand where these short chain fatty acids come from. And so fiber is found in plant-based foods like fruits and vegetables, beans, legumes. And fiber gives a plant its structure and also binds the food together. So out of all the major nutrients that we ingest, including protein, sugars, and fats, they are absorbed in the small intestine. Only fiber actually does not get absorbed through the small intestine, and that's because our cells of our human body, our human cells, are unable to digest fiber. So that's where our microbiome comes in. Certain groups of gut bacteria that reside in our colon are very good at digesting fiber and extracting as much nutrients from it as possible. And these include Faecalibacterium prausnitzii, a variety of Bacteroides species, Prevotella bifidobacteria. And these bacteria specialize in fermenting fiber, and fiber comes in all different sizes and shapes. And you can watch one of my other videos on fiber to understand more about that. But these bacteria are actually specialized in digesting certain types of that fiber. So you really need to have a good community of multiple types of bacteria in order to digest all these different types of fiber. And so the short chain fatty acids that are produced will promote the health of the good bacteria that reside in our gut, and they also are very important for our own human bodies. So short chain fatty acids can actually be used by other members of the bacterial community in the microbiome, and they can be used as a food or energy source. This is called cross-feeding, and that's where one bacteria produces something and another bacteria will utilize that product for its own growth. So thus there's cross-feeding. Again, not the most creative of names coming from these scientists. Short chain fatty acids are also used by our human cells. They provide energy and help maintain intestinal barrier function, and they have a lot of different effects that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. There are many different types of short chain fatty acids, but there are 3 VIP members that are most often discussed. These include acetate, which is actually the most abundant of the short chain fatty acids, with over 50% of all measurable short chain fatty acids in a fecal sample are acetate. Propionate is the next short chain fatty acid, and this fatty acid can be found at higher levels in the blood, definitely higher than butyrate. Butyrate is the last short chain fatty acid that we're going to talk about, and that one is rapidly used by cells of the intestine for energy and other things. So these 3 short chain fatty acids are just a small portion of the variety of short chain fatty acids that our body has, but these are the ones that the most research has been done on, thus we know the most about these 3. So what do these short chain fatty acids do for us? Well, there's a huge list of functions, and I'm not going to be able to talk about all of them. And I may do a video where I pick up some of these functions and do an even more deeper dive into them. But for now, the list, what we'll talk about today, are that these short chain fatty acids act as antioxidants. They will strengthen the intestinal barrier by promoting the tightening between cells of the intestinal epithelium, which creates a wall between the gut bacteria and food that passes through the gut and our own bodies and our immune system. So that intestinal barrier is held together by tight junctions that keep the cells nice and tight together so things can't leak through. Short chain fatty acids promotes the tightening of these junctions, as well as promotes the production of mucus, which lines that epithelial barrier, the intestinal barrier, and prevents bacteria and other things from getting to the cells of the intestine. So not only does it tighten the junctions, but it promotes a sort of a membranous mucous membrane over the cells to help keep that junction nice and tight. There's a big impact on the immune system. Butyrate specifically helps to induce a subset of T cells called T regulatory cells. These T regulatory cells help control inflammation. They dampen it, and they help to create tolerance to things that our body should not react to. There's also a promotion of antibodies that short-chain fatty acids do, specifically butyrate, which is the promotion of IgA, which is a type of antibody that's really important for the mucus layer and in mucus tissues, mucosal tissues. They lower cholesterol, so short-chain fatty acids will lower cholesterol. They help to slow down the proliferation of colon cancer cells, and they can also cross the blood-brain barrier, which means that they have a direct role on influencing that gut-brain axis. They are used as a fuel for brain cells called astrocytes. They can stimulate the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is a big, long nerve that runs from the colon or the intestines all the way up to the brain. And when it stimulates this vagus nerve, that boosts the plasma levels of insulin. It also increases the hormones PYY and GLP-1. These hormones will send satiety signals to the brain, so they make you feel full. So they're important for shutting down the need for food and to making you feel full after you eat a big meal. So these short-chain fatty acids are really critical in sending that satiety signal, which will make you feel full and to stop eating. If you look up different studies based on short-chain fatty acids or using short-chain fatty acids, just be careful that one thing I want to say is that animal studies on these short-chain fatty acids are a little bit controversial, and they can't really be controlled. They can't be used as a direct means to infer effects in humans. Humans and animals respond differently, especially to acetate. So we have to rely on human studies and cells with human tissue in order to really tell us about these short-chain fatty acids roles. So that's one thing. If you're out there looking for information, just make sure that you are paying more attention to studies that use human cells and human subjects. Because of all of these widespread benefits of short-chain fatty acids, they've been looked at to treat or their role in a number of diseases. And so some diseases that have been attributed to improve because of short-chain fatty acids have been inflammatory bowel disease symptoms. They've been shown to reduce diarrhea, especially traveler's diarrhea due to pathogenic bacteria or virus. They can lower your risk of colon cancer, and they help control blood sugar and diabetes and support a healthy weight maintenance. So there's definitely a lot of really important benefits that short-chain fatty acids do for our bodies. And so you want to make sure that you're feeding the gut bacteria so that they can eat that fiber and they can produce these short-chain fatty acids. So definitely make sure that you include high fiber foods in your diet. Make sure that you have multiple colored vegetables on your plate. Make sure that you mix up the type of grains that you're eating so that you really get a diverse amount of fiber, because the more diverse amount of fiber you get, that's going to feed the more types of healthy, beneficial gut microbes. And that's what we all want. We really want a diverse population of healthy microbes in our gut in order to provide these health benefits that I just discussed. So that's it for today. Hopefully you learned something about short-chain fatty acids. And until next time, I'm Dr. Will DiPaolo.